All right, we are going to transition into something called quadratic modeling, which is based around word problems. So we need a little bit of background information first. And this is going to be pretty straightforward for you guys. It's just going to be writing equations when you're given different information. So this says write the equation of parabola in vertex form that has a vertex of 1, 4 and goes through the point -1, 3. So they mention everything in this that we need. However, there's nothing said about an a value. So when you're doing these problems, you have to find the a value. So I'm going to write out my equation. I'm going to plug in that vertex. I said the vertex was 1, 4. So I'm going to put an a up front. I don't know my a. I'm going to write my equation out as x minus 1 squared plus 4. You just plugged in your h and your k. Remember, since it's a positive 1, this should be a minus. And now I gave you the point -3, 1. So I'm going to plug that in for x and y. This should remind you a lot about when you wrote equations of lines and you plug the point to find in the y-intercept. We're trying to find the a, which is whether we're stretched or compressed. So I'm going to plug in 3 for y. I'm going to leave the a there because that's what I'm trying to figure out. I'm plugging in -1 for x. And then we're going to solve it out to get our a, and then we can write the final equation. So when you solve this out, I have -1 minus 1, which is -2. -2 squared gives me 4. So now I have 3 equals 4a. Because remember, -2 squared is 4a plus 4. We subtract 4 from both sides. We get, -1 equals 4a, divide by 4 on both sides, and you get a is equal to 1/4. I'm sorry, -1/4. So now your final equation, the question asks you to write the equation. So the equation is y equals -1/4 x minus 1 squared plus 4, because that was just coming all the way back to what we started with. Now that we have the a value, we just plug it in. Okay, so we plug in the vertex, plug in the other point I give you, and write the equation. For the second one, I said write the equation of parabola in vertex form that has a vertex of this. So now I'm going to write it out again. A, this will be x plus 1, because this is a -1. Hy is squared. This will be minus 8, because k tells the truth. Plug in your point, -3, 0 for x and y. I get 0 is equal to a, -3 plus 1 squared minus 8. Solve that out. -3 plus 1 is -2 squared. That's a 4a. We have a minus 8. We have a 0 over here. I'm going to add 8 to both sides. I get 8 equals 4a. That means that a equals 2 after divide by 4. So your final equation, this has a vertical stretch of a factor of 2. This will be x plus 1 squared minus 8. Since we just plugged it back in to that equation we wrote out at first. So that's a little bit of background on writing equations when you have to find the a value and you just have a vertex and a point. Okay, here is one for you to try. Give it a try. Pause the video now. All right, now I'll go over it. This says vertex is 0, 3. So I have y equals, make sure you have your a. Everyone always forgets about the a value. X minus 0 squared plus 3. I can simplify that a little bit. I can write that as a x minus 0, which is x squared plus 3. You don't have to, it won't affect your answer, but you can. Plug into point 2, 1. So I get 1 is equal to a 2 squared plus 3. This is 4a. I'm going to subtract 3 from both sides. 4a equals -2. Divide by 4 on both sides. We get a is -1/2. My equation is y equals -1/2 times x. That's right. We could rewrite it just like this. X squared plus 3. And this one says to write it in standard form. Fortunately for us, this one is already in standard form. If it wasn't like that and my x minus 0 was not there, then you might have to, like for this one, we would have to FOIL out the x plus 1, then distribute in that 2, and then subtract 8. However, we're not going to worry about that right now. That should not come up anytime soon.